Chris Vince, every day you seem to be busier and busier, and you're out and about in the town. So where have you just been?
Harlow Field School, the Parliament Week. Were putting themselves up for election to be the MP for Harlow, and they all did presentations, and at the end there was a vote, which we'll find out tomorrow, which one of them won. But it was a fantastic experience. It was wonderful to see young people from Harlow feeling so energetic and excited about politics, which we know isn't always the case. But with some really good ideas, talking about policing, talking about the environment, and talking about education. Three things that obviously really resonate with me as a local politician as well.
And so did you learn something?
I it's really interesting to hear their views. And I think, genuinely, part of my role as a parliamentary candidate, but of course as a council as well, is listening to everybody. But it was really wonderful to see them put that presentation on with so much passion and so much excitement. Really, it was a really lovely session. It was really great to be part, and I really want to thank the head and all of our staff for allowing me to be part of the day.
Harlow Field School is here on Tendring Road. So is behind you SFG College. Are you happy with where we are right now, or do you feel there are people are getting answers?
Well, no, the simple answer is no. And, I spoke to a number of parents since the latest revelation that SFG wouldn't open until next week at the very latest. There seems to be quite a lot of work going on behind us, but I haven't heard anything more from parents about whether they've been informed of any progress. But no, I think a lot of parents that spoke to me, I've had parents generally very upset and very concerned about their children's education, and they don't feel they're getting answers. What they really want, what they've asked for, what hasn't been provided by the DfE is a timescale as to when this situation is going to be resolved. We know it's not going to be a quick fix, that's clearly obvious, but we don't know how long it's going to take. And at this time, a lot of young people feel very uncertain about how they're moving forward. Again, as I've said to you before, I really share really concern about the young people and still think.
Is there a balance when you're concerned about something like this, that you're not being simply or overtly political point scoring?
Well, look, I've said to you before, I'll stop being political when you stop making bad political decisions. My role as my role as a parliamentary candidate for the Labour Party is to be critical of government. That's the right thing to do. We are the opposition. That's what we need to do. I think in this case, it's a huge scandal, and answers need to be given. Not just about the timescale, but obviously, how this was allowed to happen in the first place. It's absolutely right that we should be asking questions. You say it's an issue, but as you'll be aware, the Conservative government cut the new school building programme of Labour. We know not so much the SFG issue, but we know the RAF issue was something they were aware of before and didn't do anything about until the 11th hour. I think that's probably being polite about it. So this is a political issue. This is another example of failure by the Conservative government. I mean, the school behind us is almost sort of a visual representation of the failure of the Conservative government and the local education minister.
But some would say a visual success of the local Conservative Council is their plan for council house building. Now, well underway. We had a press release yesterday referring to 11 places. You must
set you up for the next question there, my friend. We want small council homes in Harlow. We want homes for Harlow people people and needs register of people that aren't able to get home. I used to work for Streets and Homes, a homes charity in Harlow, and I saw some of the issues that there were. And I totally reject the Home Secretary's comment, by the way, that homelessness is a lifestyle. So obviously we welcome the building of council homes. We haven't started yet. They're on site, and many of the sites were identified by the last Labour administration. So I think it's a team effort, if anything. But actually, I think as well, the issue of building homes can't just be a local government issue. Local government, of course, which has been funded and has had a huge cut to its funding. We know that there's going to be a bill coming through that is going to demand higher standards of landlords. That includes council homes, which is absolutely correct, but we know that no new money has to do with that. So there's huge challenges that the local council face. We welcome the building of council homes, but there needs to be. It's only the start, really. It's a pebble in an ocean, and we need to do a lot more.
Did you have a strong exchange of views with the Conservatives at the council meeting on Thursday night, and were you comfortable with that exchange?
Well, I didn't see it as I gave my views on what I thought was a very simple issue, the issue of electoral recycling. As I said in the meeting, it was an issue that nobody had discussed in the doorstep, and it's fair to say, I canvass week in, week out across Harlow talking to residents. It's not an issue that is a huge one for residents. I have my view. Our group had our view. Our group's view was different to that of the Conservative Party. That's how politics works. And I think, frankly, for members of the administration to behave in the way they did on that particular evening was very, very disappointing. I think actually is bad for politics. And it's part of the reason, so many people are switched off politics, which was part of the speech I was making. So it was disappointing to see that. I gave my views as I'm entitled to as leader of the opposition, and I think we are going to disagree on this. But how you behave is very, very important. And when I see Conservative council outside the council, I will be polite and I will be courteous, and I will hope to say that.
I asked Harlow MP Robert Alf on a variety of subjects, have done for 10 years. And so, for example, recently I was asked SFG College, crime, local business, and Israel. And so I asked you, have you been gagged on the subject of Israel, or simply nobody asked you?
Well, I think nobody's asked me because the other part, it's not going to necessarily come up on the doorstep. I have, been speaking to the local Jewish community and the local Islamic community, because it's important I talk to all communities within Harlow to make sure they feel safe, make sure they feel happy, and that there aren't any issues that they particularly are facing as a community. And actually, the response was that no, that hasn't been a huge issue, and that's obviously important to say that. So no, it's not that I've been gagged. It's that actually it's not something that's come up on the doorstep. It's not something that someone's spoken about with me. I'm not going to say that it's not a huge concern to me. I'm really worried about the situation. I'm in the Middle East. I'm glad that we're calling for humanitarian pauses to get aid into Gaza, and particularly we're calling on the government to put together a plan to actually ensure that children in Gaza are safe and have access to supplies and aid. So I think that's a important thing that's something that I feel very, very passionately about. It's a huge concern, and as you know, it's been the Labour's position for a long time now that we a two-state solution, and Palestine that is a sovereign state. Feels like that peace is a long way away at the moment. All we pray for is peace in that region of the world, and I think that's what we all want, really.
And finally, you mentioned the doorstep a lot because you're on the doorstep a lot, and I've got to conclude this episode. If there was one issue at the moment, here we are in November 2022, that comes up, Harlow residents and 93,300 put in it.
Sure. It's difficult to pick just one. I was going to go with crime initially because people are concerned about crime. We know that there's been a focus on violent crime from Harlow Police, which is brilliant, which is right. But of course, the reality is they are struggling with capacity. They say they've got all these new police officers, but we're not sending them in our communities because they're having to do a lot of the work, as we know that police staff would be doing had they not been cut. I think that's a big one. We've seen increase in vehicle crime. We've seen which is a concern for people. Clearly, people are worried moving into the winter about the cost of living crisis. It's still with us. We know that bills are still high, mortgage rates are still high, rent is still high. The cost of food in shops are high, and we need to be very aware of that issue. It's still a huge issue going on. And it goes back to what I said. I'm not, without willing to sound like I'm being flippant, which is why I said, on Thursday night, actually, why are we talking about electric cycles? Why are we talking about the issues that are facing people in this town? Now, I know that as a local council, there's only so much we can do. We do, in my view, of course, need a change of government, a government with a plan to actually get growth back into our economy, to invest in our jobs, in our young people. But as a council, it must be something that we're worried about. And just finally to say, we've chatted before about what I think my vision of Harlow needs to be. And for me, my vision of Harlow needs to be actually backing Harlow, actually backing the young people in Harlow, backing aspiration in Harlow, getting those high-tech jobs back in Harlow. We know we're still waiting on the Health Security Agency, but we know so many high-tech jobs have been lost in Harlow over the last 13 years. Harlow's growth, and I don't just mean physical growth, but I mean in terms of its infrastructure, in terms of the aspiration of our young people and our older people in our town has been stunted. And that's what I want to see. I want to see aspiration back in our town, high-tech jobs back in our town, and let's get Harlow's future back.